Sharts. Sorry. Sharts. Nope. Sharts. I'm so sorry. Sharts. What the fuck? I cannot get it. Hey, Sharts. Damn it. Sharts.
Good morning, sweet sharts, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. I'm Jay Skeets here in the Classic Factory, and alongside me, as always, Melas.
Podcast listeners, this is for you.
Next to him, it's the bearded one, my top shot hot boy, Trey Kerby.
Hey-o.
Hey, yo. And over yonder, making the magic happen, super producer JD.
Sharts.
There he is. Here we are. Happy Greek Independence Day,
Thank
Tassie.
you. Thank you.
Yes.
Well earned.
And happy 39th birthday to Kyle Lowry.
Oh.
The GOAT. Yes, a lot of things today. Coming up in a few days, on Thursday here in Atlanta, we got a few tickets remaining for our live show. In Atlanta, it's the No Dunks live podcast pizza party with Tabasco. There will be pizza. There will be Tabascos. There will be larfs. Lots of larfs.
Guaranteed larfs.
Oh, yeah. Show starts at 7. Doors 6:30. That's at the Seven Stages Theater in Atlanta. So go get your ticket in the show notes. What are you laughing
No,
about?
I'm laughing at the Sharts thought because actually I was at a class this morning. My instructor had to leave because he had something to take care of.
Oh, no.
So it's in the back of my brain. I have been thinking that when you introduced me during our live show
Yeah.
that I was going to say to everybody that I've been thinking about my belly after that instructor's class, and that if I have to get up during this live show, then that's what's happening. But now I just use it now, so I got to use something new.
I was going to say, you're preemptively telling us
Well,
you
it's
might
over.
be leaving the live show stage.
Yeah, that was the joke. That was
Take
the
a
joke
shot.
for everybody out there. Maybe I had a bad Tabasco little shot that I ate a little
Jeez,
bit
don't
early.
say that, Tass. What are you
never know.
doing?
You never know.
Those barrel-aged
God.
peppers? Come on.
We had a wedgie last night, speaking of sharts and underwear and all that stuff up your ass. Ochayabashi for the Raptors, sticking it in D.C. Wedgie number 37. We had gone a while without one, so it's nice to get one. The pace has slowed down. We're only on pace for 46. We don't like to see that.
slow.
Yeah, we need a couple here over the next couple nights. That would be great, but good call by Devlin.
Yeah.
On the Raptors call. He was with Alvin Williams, I guess, last night. So
He was.
nice shout out from the social media team
We love
on
it.
Twitter, too. They tagged all 4 of us.
Thank you.
That made me laugh for some reason.
It was really
Wow.
nice. Really nice of them. And nice of the players to let it stick up there for a long time. We always talk about letting it breathe. That thing got 4 or 5 breaths. Well done.
It was very nice. We, on today's show, are going to hear from Trey because you have a list of, I believe, your top 8 NBA playoff X factors. Like some
Classic top 8.
some of the bigger names. Real Bill Simmons top 8 from Trey Kerby today.
No, that would have been top 33.
So we'll do that later. But let's talk about some of the games last night. We're going to start with looking at those Western Conference play-in teams. But one of them, involving the Kings, the big story from the Celtics win over them was Jayson Tatum injuring his ankle in this game, having to leave. He went down in some pain after Domantas Sabonis tried to challenge his three-point shot, got under him, and the ankle rolled, and you see it there as he hits the floor hard, and he is rolling around there, grabbing that ankle. There is some good news coming out from the locker room and today that it's maybe not that serious, just maybe a classic ankle injury, but he'll probably miss a little bit of time. But yeah, Sabonis got the flagrant one for the relentless closeout there.
Relentless. I guess it was. That's kind of the definition of a landing spot foul. So he gets
Reckless is what I meant.
Reckless. yeah. Sort of relentless. I mean, he was up on him for sure. It's just too bad that they aren't starring in starting 5 this year. We'd love to hear their perspectives on it. But Tatum afterwards basically just said it feels sore. Obviously, that's the case. He left the game after making one of his 2 free throws, so he could theoretically come back, which I guess that's probably a good sign. Maybe it's just a couple of weeks at the most here. I think they'll probably be pretty patient, pretty cautious with Jayson Tatum to get him healthy for the playoffs, but it could be a blessing in disguise, similar to how Steph Curry sat the last couple of weeks for the Warriors during the 2022 season. He had a foot sprain. He was healthy for the entire playoff run. So, probably not a 1 seed for the Boston Celtics. They had a slight window with the Cavs having a hiccup here, but that's probably not going to transpire. As long as Tatum is healthy for the first round, all good.
Yeah. That's a great positive outlook for you. I agree, and I think if you're arguing that the Boston Celtics will even be good enough, even if Jayson Tatum misses a couple games of the first round, I think you could argue that. That being said, from the other direction, Jayson Tatum definitely wants to be in a good flow come postseason. I think that's fair to say, especially considering the Eastern Conference oppositions for them is going to be tougher than last season. I don't care what anyone says, it is going to be tougher. When you look at whether it's the Atlanta Hawks or the Orlando Magic who are playing well in that first round, I mean, Magic are better. The Atlanta Hawks have beat the Boston Celtics 4 times over the last 12 months. That's tougher. The Indiana Pacers in the second round, yeah, they swept them last year in the conference finals, but 2 of those wins were by 3 points. 1 was by 5 points. The Pacers are better. We'll get to Benedict Mathurin, I'm sure, when we talk X factors. That guy wasn't even a part of their team last year. He's definitely looking better. That team just comes from so many different directions, so I think that's evolved. And the Cleveland Cavaliers have definitely evolved, going from a 48-win team to a 60-win team this season. Donovan Mitchell was out for a bunch of those games in their series last year. Jarrett Allen was out for the entire series. So I think it is tougher, and you want to be in a better flow, period. That's it. I think it is somewhat important, that he's got to be back eventually.
I should say Sabonis did apologize for the reckless/relentless close out there. I mean, he got put on an island against Tatum. I think he knew the step back 3 was coming, tried to challenge it, but he's under his space, and that was the right flagrant 1 call. But the Kings lose this game. That is of importance too, because they're obviously trying to hold on to a play-in spot, because we'll get to some of these other games. I don't know if you have any other takeaways from the game itself where the Celtics, run away with it, 113-95 in the end, pretty comfortably.
I think they led the entire way as well. So the Celtics really took care of business. They continued to do so once Tatum went down, but the Kings are really struggling right now. They've won 2 of their last 9 games. They're only a half game up on the 10th seed in the Western Conference, and you hear some of the quotes from Zach LaVine afterwards. He's like, we're not taking enough threes. We're not making enough threes. The offense isn't good. The defense is even worse. They're one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the league over their past 10 games. I think they're 29th in net rating. They're kind of kings in it at the exact worst times right now. Like, they're playing no defense. The offense isn't good to make up for it, and they're losing at the most important part of the season.
I would say of all of the teams in the Western Conference play-in, this is the team that I'm least excited for when it comes to postseason, which is an odd statement, because I would think, a few weeks ago it was the Phoenix Suns, easily. Or even the Dallas Mavericks, who are tied with the Phoenix Suns. But after Anthony Davis coming back, which we'll get to, and the way the Phoenix Suns are playing, it is the Sacramento Kings who are playing the most abysmal here with a few weeks left in the season.
Well, let's get to those other games involving those other teams in the Western Conference play-in race. Devin Booker hit the clutch jumper, a couple seconds left to lift the Suns over the Bucks, 108-106. That is the Suns' 4th straight victory. They are in the 10th seed, but yeah, AD coming back for the Mavs, so it's really these sort of 3 teams battling it out. The Blazers trying to hold on, Spurs sort of trying to hold on, but it feels like it's of these 3 squads, 2 spots when we're talking about the Kings, the Suns, and the Mavs. But awesome game from Kevin Durant. Again, Yep. He was clutch, and some big plays down the stretch on both sides of the ball, and the Suns pull it out. TK, your takeaways?
Props to the Suns. We tried to flush them down the toilet, but they have absolutely plunged this season. 4-0 since they lost Bradley Beal to injury. Guess what? That's probably not a coincidence. Since then, they're 13th in defense after being 26th for the entire season. They basically have cut out the negative players from their lineup. They don't play Bol anymore. Beal's not going, and Tyus Jones is coming off the bench, where he should be coming off the bench. If you look at their on-off numbers, those are like literally their 3 biggest negative players. So Colin Gillespie's getting starts. Ryan Dunn is playing. Oso Ighodaro is playing. Yeah. These guys are contributing defensively and giving a little shot in the arm, I think, to the Phoenix Suns. They're playing really hard. They're also getting great performances from Kevin Durant. He had 38 in this one, 42 in their previous game. Devin Booker is on the ball a lot more, 12 assists in this one, hit the big jumper that ended up icing the game for him. I think it's been smart from Mike Budenholzer to kind of turn the team back over to KD and Devin Booker. Like, we don't need Beal around. the Bowl experiment was stupid. That really ruined their chance at having a decent seed in the play-in tournament. Now they just got to find a way to not have to play Nick Richards, and they'll be all good. But I'm impressed with what the Suns are doing, actually giving a little bit of an effort here late in the season when it felt like they were ready for the season to be over.
Oh, yeah. The jokes were it was 1-2-3 Cancun with the Suns.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the vibe from that team. But yeah, they've got some wins going here. I think the Suns, I want to say they're like 13-3 when Beal's not playing and the other two guys are. So a really good record.
Yeah.
But they pulled this one out. And it was fun down the stretch. But your thoughts, Des?
Well, down the stretch, I was confused why Doc Rivers didn't put somebody else other than Brook Lopez out for Devin Booker's game winner. I just didn't understand it whatsoever. Devin Booker got so open in the mid-range with Brook Lopez on him. I don't get it. I don't get
A bit of that fault goes to Gary Trent Jr. too. I mean, he was on Booker.
Yeah.
And then there was miscommunication. Gary Trent took a weird way to try and cover Devin Booker.
Iguodaro held both guys.
Yeah, he sort of did the old blocker push.
Yeah, exactly. He pushed him from the free throw line to the 3-point line. Two guys.
And credit to Budenholzer, the play before there was a foul because they had one to give, it looked like it was going to be for Kevin Durant, as you maybe would. The action was going to be for him, but then they switched it up and went with Booker. I thought that was smart from Budenholzer on the Sun side of things.
Sure.
But fair point. Go to back.
Yeah,
to
Booker just lost Brook Lopez though entirely out there, and this is after a timeout, so you have the option to go defense for offense. When you got a guy like Andre Jackson just sitting there twiddling his thumbs, I just don't get why you wouldn't throw your defensive lineup out there. I guess because Doc is stubborn at playing his guys that he's going to play. I mean, Doc earlier in the day was quoted as saying, nobody gives me enough of the credit for those 3 wins when I was been up 3-1 in those series. All they do is say that I gave up those series. Well, that's just a weird quote.
This guy is always looking for credit, man.
Yeah. I mean, I bring that up because that just exudes stubbornness. I mean, just to go back to that, he will not give that up. He won't give up that 3-1 series lead that he gave up, and he won't give up playing Brook Lopez out there. You know what Devin Booker is going to do. The ridiculous percentages of him and Kevin Durant this season in the mid-range, that's where they're going to go. And so I know he plays the tighter rotations, and he is definitely playing that way without Jericho Sims right now and without Bobby Portis right now, who's suspended. Jericho Sims is injured. So he's sticking with those same guys, although Ryan Hollins was filling in for Damian Lillard in this game because Lillard is out. That being said, it's going to be up to Giannis and Dame to carry this team in the playoffs. And on the Phoenix Suns side, I don't think they are guaranteed to be in the play-in tournament whatsoever. They've got 10 games left, and I know sometimes we say, well, that's a tough schedule. Sometimes that's unfounded, but when you go through those 10 games, oh, man, it's Boston, then at Minnesota, Houston, at Milwaukee, at Boston again, at New York, then home to Golden State, OKC, the Spurs. Well, that's an easy one. And then at Sacramento. That's freaking tough.
Very tough, but you know what? I think that's better for the Phoenix Suns than playing just a bunch of like tanking teams and teams out of it and playing like their third stringers, because they have that idea of like, we'll just like wax them and we can just play offense and win. At least they have to like commit to both sides of the basketball, playing the young guys more, get a little scrappy, and hopefully keep riding the Kevin Durant heater and, you know, Booker as a closer and a playmaker a little bit more. I know that sounds insane to say, but I actually think that's better for a very weird Phoenix Suns team to have better competition to try and get into the play.
I don't disagree. They definitely lay eggs against poor teams.
God,
there's no doubt. But they're technically tied with the Dallas Mavericks, who have a way easier schedule. And they have Anthony Davis back.
One of my favorite things from this game was down the stretch, there was more than a couple possessions where the ball did not find Kevin Durant, despite at that point having, I guess, 35 points. Yep. And Eddie Johnson on the Suns call was literally like, just get the ball to Kevin Durant. It went to him, and he nailed the three. Yep. Like a huge three up top. And it was like, yeah, that's a good game plan there, Eddie Johnson. Smart call. But there was a couple awesome Giannis defensive plays down the stretch. There was one play where he was guarding Kevin Durant like for 15 to 20 seconds, to the point where then they had, like, he was all over him. And then it got to Booker. He got switched on him and shut that down as well. He had the one where he dove on the ball, too, after I think Brook Lopez popped it out. Like, he was giving it his all, I thought, Giannis, defensively. But they come up short. There's no Dame. And the game winner, I guess, was or the game-tying attempt, I should say. You know, Brook Lopez got a I was going to say on the block, not close to the block, but he's so big he can get a shot off for everyone. I think maybe it was Durant that was challenging it. Yeah, it almost went. It was a pretty good look for him, but a little turnaround there on the side.
Would have been a great shot if he made it.
Huge shot. But Suns roll. Do you like their chances to at least get one of those seeds, 9th or 10th seed?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing well right now. They're playing the right guys right now, and they don't want to be so embarrassed that they have the highest payroll in the league and didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they need to give an effort here. It's only for 10 games, and like you're saying, this schedule, the teams look tough for sure.
Yeah.
Last week of the season, who cares?
Yeah, some of them.
Who cares the most is going to win those games.
Yeah.
Like the Thunder ain't going to be playing guys at that point. Why?
Yeah, it'd be sort of silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, they tend to be fighting right now to keep that flow going as far as the Thunder specifically goes. That being said, it is refreshing for these Phoenix Suns to come out and play this way, because the reverse can be said. I mean, you could say, why are they going to try? They're just going to get smashed in the first round of the playoffs, and they've tried. So it is refreshing that they have come out and played a different type of basketball here.
Two other things. Giannis got dunked on.
Yes, he did.
Ryan Dunn. The people were calling for it. They want to hear about it. Great dunk.
This guy has had like 3 or 4 monster dunks over the last couple weeks. He gets up there, and that was no doubt on Giannis too.
Yes, that was great. Don't know why he fell out of the rotation, but Ryan Dunn, he's back now, and also back now, Hacka Giannis.
Yes,
our old friend.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in quite some time. 2:19 left in the fourth quarter. Got it in real quick before the 2-minute marker.
Yeah.
You can't start doing it anymore. We went 0 for 2, but they got the ball back on the second challenge. But then Gary Trent Jr. missed a wide open 3.
Yeah.
So long term it worked out. Man, Hacka Giannis. I forgot all about like the intentional fouling and the hacking. Like Andre Drummond's not a huge player for the Sixers anymore, so that doesn't happen all that often.
Ben Simmons ain't around, really.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Giannis.
Throwback, yeah, for sure.
I exactly. I did have that in my notes too. It's like, whoa. And I was also like, ooh, really, bud? I don't know. I mean, then again,
He
knows, old man. Coach. Yeah, exactly. It did work, but they got the ball back, but they missed. Let's go now to Anthony Davis coming back. A little bit of a surprise. I know as the day went on, it was the progress of where he was on the report was like bumping up, and he played. Now, he only played 26 minutes. 12 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. He said he felt great, and they got the victory. Naji Marshall had 22 as the Mavs beat the Nets. Tass. What'd you think of AD? And, well, it sounds like you're pretty confident in the Dallas Mavericks maybe taking one of those spots. So.
Yeah, it is going to be tough because, the Phoenix Suns are alive. But Anthony Davis coming back and saying all the right things, saying, listen, everybody out there, when I was out there scrapping, whether it was 6 guys that were available or 7 guys or 8 guys, so it was impossible for him to say, nah, I ain't gonna play. He wanted to play.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for getting out there and playing, and they look like an entirely different team when he plays. Surprising? No. He's a damn good player. And so is Naji Marshall. I mean, this guy, watching him, I thought when Anthony Davis was out, I thought, okay, maybe these are just sort of empty stats. Somebody's got to score, but he has been ridiculously effective. The last 11 games, 15 or more points, efficient. That floater shot is real. The 3-point shot, it's not gonna go down. He's shooting at like 26.5% from 3 over that stretch, but the from the mid range, that floater is good. So it would be nice if Kyrie or that Luka guy played for them, and he I think would be legitimate. But they all are sort of this scrappy bunch, including Naji Marshall, to play around Anthony Davis. So this team is a tough loss or a tough opponent, no matter what. If Anthony Davis is out there,
what do you think of AD's return?
I think Anthony Davis, just like Kawhi Leonard, are so experienced at coming back from injuries that they look like themselves when they come back. Part of it, I think, is that they know their body and they want to be 100% healthy when they play. But anytime Anthony Davis comes back from injury, he looks good. And he looked like Anthony Davis, I thought, getting possessions and touches where he usually does, sometimes in the high post, sometimes in the low post, playing off pick and rolls, creating for others. He finds Kai Jones underneath for a nice dunk. I just thought he looked good. Only 26 minutes for Anthony Davis since he's on a restriction, but 12 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, a steal, a block, 6 for 9 from the field. Very nice. So that's just good stuff from Anthony Davis, and I love what he said afterwards. It's like, I come into the locker room and I see these guys lying on the floor, gassed from complete exhaustion. I have to come out and play. So he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, wants to prove that this trade wasn't a ridiculous move by Nico Harrison. This ain't the year they win the title, but he wants to at least give a little optimism, I imagine, to the Dallas Mavericks fans. And I got a little bit of optimism for his Kai Jones. He's been decent for the Mavericks. 13 points, 9 rebounds last night, went 5 for 5 from the field. He's only played like 4 games, I think, on a two-way with Dallas. He probably won't even be there for them next season, but 15 points, 9 boards so far. This was a guy that completely flamed out of the league.
Yeah.
Had Instagram problems, if we're being quite honest.
Yep.
Had to go play somewhere else. Didn't do much for the Clippers, but he's been looking good for Dallas, and somebody will probably take a chance on him because he's an incredible athlete.
Oh my God,
the dude can fly.
That oop he threw down last night was crazy.
So good stuff, but I mean, like long term, they'll have Gafford. Lively's coming back in not too long. Obviously, Anthony Davis is a huge piece for them, but like he could be a backup big for somebody.
Yeah, well, let's look at the West play-in standings here, and we'll show you a couple of teams ahead of them and behind them there when we're talking Clips, Wolves, and then Blazers, Spurs, because we have the Kings, Suns, and Mavs. They all have 35 wins. One more loss for the Suns and Mavs because they played one more game than the Kings. I will say, for Dallas to get in, they're going to have to clear Phoenix or Sacramento by one game due to tiebreakers. So they do have that disadvantage. So, that's always tough. And it could come down to that. They could have the exact same record but lose in the tiebreaker and be bumped down to the 11th seed. But yeah, there's a look. We got a couple good races going on. Obviously, there's a good race in the West just to remain out of the play-in is happening as well, and everything going on in the East. So it's fun.
Yeah, I wasn't excited about the Western Conference play-in spots for a while. I'm back, baby. Yeah, I mean, these teams definitely feel like they have something to play for. And when you say playing for the 10th seed, it's not all that exciting for a fan base. That being said, I'd rather watch a couple games that matter in April than not for these teams.
Well, yeah,
Adam Silver, you did it again.
You can work for the Bulls, man.
Well, I think like Trey said, especially when you're the Phoenix Suns and you have the highest payroll in the league, you better at least be playing in a play-in game and maybe get backdooring your way into the playoffs. Maybe. And missing it entirely is, that's embarrassing.
Make a few million in gate money. Ishby will love it.
Well,
before he makes all those cuts next season, probably.
Other takeaways from last night's NBA action. You want to start with your Bulls, who remain on fire. Trey Kerby, they beat the Nuggets 129-119. Kobe White, another 37.
Yeah, exactly right. He had 35 against the Kings, 36 against the Lakers, 37 last night against the Nuggets. They played the Lakers again Thursday, so I'm thinking 38.
There you go.
Just like that. Hottest team in the league right now. I guess the Thunder are 9-1 in their last 10, but the Bulls 8-2 in their last 10 with the best fourth quarter net rating and the best defense. They are the ultimate spoiler right now because they just beat the two teams contending for the 3 seed in the Western Conference, and they're ruining their own draft pick at the same time. I don't know what's going on here, but the Bulls are fun to watch right now. You hear about them on other podcasts, not just here. Like I'm guaranteeing you, through the month of February, No Dunks is the only place you would hear anybody talk about the Bulls. But now that they're winning games when they probably shouldn't be, people are talking about them. Also, no Jokic again in this one. 5 straight games that he's missed with an ankle injury. Got to be the longest stretch of his career that he's missed games. The guy never misses games.
That's a good point.
So yeah, they would like to have him back because they're still in the mix for a top 2 seed, though it's getting a little bit away from him with the Rockets playing pretty well lately.
And Kobe White did something when it comes to the Bulls organization that only Michael Jordan has ever done. Back-to-back Player of the Week honors.
Oh!
Yeah. MJ did it, of course, and now Kobe White, only Bulls to ever do it.
Well, look, the banners aren't hanging right now, so there's room to raise another jersey. Get that 0 up there.
Just watch out for the pyrotechnics and flames from Disturbed. Any thoughts on the
Well, it's a little surprising. Like Derrick Rose won Player of the Month, but not back-to-back player weeks. So
that's tough.
It is tough.
I think most recent guy to do it, I want to say Joel Embiid did it a couple years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I read that, obviously. That's not up in the old memory bank.
Yeah. I mean, just on the Lakers getting smashed by the Magic.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Outplayed them. Lakers now 3 losses in a row. Franz was outplaying everyone. They were throwing every single guy at him. Your bigs, whether it's Jackson Hayes, even your Dorian Finney-Smith, even Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura. I wonder how that knee is holding up for him. He outplayed LeBron. You see when he sealed him in the fourth quarter there. 32 for him. He's looking obviously entirely great. But the Lakers defensively, how they've dropped off dramatically since that beautiful run. They were just switching everything. And then Paolo or Franz said, okay, well, I've got the matchup I wanted. So they were just switching so freaking easily. On that end, scary. They don't look like themselves. And then offensively, Luka in the second half, these numbers surprised me. The last 5 games in second halves, he's only scoring 8.5 points on 27.9% from the floor, 27.8% from 3, like 4-2 basically assist to turnover ratio. So that ain't good. No. And that's probably him trying to get back from that calf injury, and he ain't right. So there's a lot that ain't right, and just LeBron goes out, comes back. Yeah, they just needed that that perfect run that they had going for them to keep it up. Now it's bad, and they got outscored everywhere. The bench got outscored 30-14. The whole thing was bad.
Franz Wagner, he likes playing the Lakers. This guy's played like an all-star in both games he played against LA. First game back in November, 37 points, 11 assists in a win. Easily a top 3 game for him all season, probably top 2. And then last night, 32, 9, and 5, shot 50% from the floor. And you said it, he scored back-to-back buckets on Luka, which was way too easy. Luka did not challenge that shot all that hard. And then he scored on LeBron, sort of sealed him, and went baseline. That's like with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And then a minute later, he nailed a 3 from up top when I thought Dorian Finney-Smith, he sort of like handed him over to Rui Hachimura, and it was like he just walked into it, and he was on fire. So bad loss. The Lakers are now 3-7 in their past 10 games, and they've been destroyed. Average margin of defeat in those contests is almost 16 points per game. They're number 4 in the West. Only 3 games up on the number 7th Clippers. So, it's not huge. They're probably going to be okay. They'll probably be in the playoffs, but still, it's not gigantic here with a lot of teams, 10, 11, maybe sometimes 12 games left. It was just eerily reminiscent to that game against the Bulls. Mm-hmm. That third quarter, they got crushed by Chicago 39-27, the Lakers did in the third quarter, and Orlando did it last night 34-18. It was like almost sort of the same game there where the third quarter gets away from them.
Yeah, they're playing it close through the first 2 quarters, and then after halftime, have no juice left. Like you're saying, Luka hasn't been scoring very well. He was talking post-game about he needs to be communicating more, which is something we've heard prior from Luka and from JJ, who is saying we don't have enough intensity coming out of halftime. Maybe it's because you don't have all the time to get limbered up before the game that you do get the half work done, but the Lakers have just looked pretty bad in the fourth quarters. Like, they gave up 146 to the Bulls. That's a crazy number. The Bulls are an okay offensive team. At least they can get hot. The Magic are a bad offensive team. They scored 118 and outshot the Lakers 15-10 from 3. They hit 5 threes in that third quarter. It just didn't look like the Lakers knew what they were doing. They looked completely disconnected, I thought.
You've brought this up before, Tass, but 7 of the Lakers' remaining games are on the road, and they still have 3 back-to-back sets here on the schedule, starting Wednesday night in Indiana, and then followed by Thursday in Chicago. Those are 2 of the hotter teams in the league. True. In the Pacers and the Bulls. So it's not going to be easy. That's why I brought up that, like, they're in the 4th seed, and, the Nuggets also lost last night, so that was good for them. But the 7th-seeded Clippers are not all that far behind. And then I think we should talk a little bit about the Pacers destroying the Wolves.
On fire.
119-103. Yeah, they are really good right now. Halliburton, Obi Toppin leading a 3-point flurry there as they beat the Wolves handedly. Like, we were watching this one on playback thinking, there'll be a run in the Wolves here. It never really came. It was a pretty comfortable Indiana win.
Yeah, they finally didn't play a clutch game. Led wire to wire, I think, in this one. And Obi Toppin has been on fire in his past 5 games. He had 6 threes last night. The last 5 games, he's shooting 17 for 29 from the 3-point line. That's 58%. Like, this is a huge reason why they're able to pull out these crazy wins. And then a big one against the Timberwolves last night. The Pacers, they've just figured out how they want to play and the guys they want to play. I'm impressed.
It was only 7 days before that Obi Toppin killed the Minnesota Timberwolves with those 2 huge threes, and he hit 7 of 10 that night. It was surprising to see the Timberwolves not come out and fight in this game. Yeah. There was bad body language. I was reading it. It looked similar to the Lakers. The Timberwolves went on a run, and now they got back cold. They won 8 straight games, and then they lost 2 consecutive games, 1 to the Pacers and Obi Toppin, and then they lost to the Pelicans, and then they had that nice touching moment when they played for Joe Ingles and his family, and they beat the Pelicans, but then it flipped back. I mean, you could see Anthony Edwards' body language out there was not right, so they just don't seem to have the fight to be able to deal with these adversity moments, and that's the odd part. Also, seeing Tyrese Halliburton look like that Tyrese Halliburton from last year. The step backs were, it doesn't matter who's on me. Rudy Gobert, I don't care. So he looked like that guy last year.
Over his last 11 games, Halliburton is averaging 21.5 points per game, 12.1 assists per game, 2.5 steals. His shooting splits over that stretch: 55 from the floor, 47 from deep. He's nearly he's missed a handful of free throws, 94 at the line, and only 12 turnovers over that 11-game span, and all those assists. You're absolutely right that he's looking like the all-star, all-NBA-ish Halliburton from last year, earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Looks awesome right now, and they definitely have a flow going. Like, that's a team that's like, let's start the playoffs now. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Let's go. And Bucks lose last night, so that helps separate a little distance between them with the 4th and 5th seed. So Indiana looking pretty good. I think they're 2 games up now. Anything else from last night? You want to go deep on Raptors Wizards?
Jameson Battle was going deep last night.
We had some crazy lineups in that one.
Can't leave them open.
Yeah, they played
Even with the mask.
Yeah, that mask.
2 masked guys on the Raptors right now.
Yeah.
Mobo and
We were counting masks and shirts last night on playback. A lot more shirts than you would think in the NBA these days.
We had one of the roughest nights on playbacks when it came to actual
pretty
basketball
brutal.
games, because we weren't doing the later games, which were a little more entertaining.
Definitely better.
Obviously, the Bulls Nuggets game, that great Suns Bucks games that we talked about, but the ones, oh my god, like. A lot of time we were watching Raptors Wizards because everything else was in commercial break.
We saw a lot of Castleton.
Yeah, they start their big 3, and
Yeah.
Quickly and Barnes and Barrett, and they're gonna win games when those 3 guys are healthy. But then they sit them in the 4th quarter.
This is the new tanking.
It is.
It's the workaround to like not get penalized by the NBA.
Play your guys 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's enough. And that's enough for a victory for the Toronto Raptors. It would be nice to see if Brandon Ingram plays a game. That'd be great if he played too.
That's not happening.
It doesn't look
I
like
can't
it.
imagine he's be playing, but
Yeah, less than 3 weeks left.
1 quarter.
It's odd. It was cool to see Dwight Howard join the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame. That was cool. He really got emotional.
He was very emotional.
Yeah, in front of his parents there. Dad pulling out the chin strap beard. You don't see that very often.
Now this is not obviously raising a jersey to the rafters.
No.
This is like not a plaque, but a Hall of Fame, like you said.
Yeah.
There's something. I forget.
Ring of Honor.
I saw
The Ring
something.
of
I don't know
Honor,
what
yeah.
it was.
Yeah, the Ring of Honor. That's Shaq's there. Shaq wasn't there for the ceremony for Dwight Howard. That's not going to happen. Shaq and Dwight, the Supermen, they butt heads. Yeah, they have a very unique the Ring of Honor, as it's called, is very unique in the NBA world.
I guess.
Right?
Yeah. Some teams do it, but not many. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'm like, I know the Bulls have one.
Yeah.
I think the Suns do too.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of them.
Yeah.
Probably not.
But it's
Yeah.
like Dennis Scott, Nick Anderson, obviously Shaq, Penny, I assume, Trace McGrady, Dwight. Keep going.
Yeah.
Bo Outlaw, I don't know.
Maybe.
It's possible. Anyway,
Yeah.
he was pumped. He was
super pumped.
He was terrible on the broadcast. Congratulations to him, but he was a straight up snooze fest for 9 minutes of the 2nd quarter.
when they added him to the
And they were going JD mode where we have us here on the thing, but like the pop up as well. So you're getting the game on like 2/3 of the screen while the most boring guy of all time just is looking up at the jumbotron. They should have thought that one through.
Wow.
It was bad.
Yeah. They were talking too much about the game. Actually, like just asking questions, fire questions.
Right.
It was a little abysmal, and you have that camera angle too. It's so low to Dwight,
Yeah, very weird, man.
right? It's like right on the scorer's table. You see him up. Like, I like the attire, but it just looked weird. Yeah, he seemed tired. I think he was done because the ceremony was pregame. And he cried pregame.
Yeah.
I think during the game he was all tired.
Okay.
I just wanted the question of what's going on with your house sale in Atlanta. Just ask him. That's one question. I think that would have been the best answer. That would have been the thing that went viral because I don't think his house is sold yet. That million bajillion house that's
keeping
going
your eye
on.
on it?
I think we need a little story on that.
Wait till the price comes down. Chip in.
Yeah, it's like 13 mil.
I'm not
live
saying
together?
anything about Dwight Howard on the broadcast. We're calling a College Park Skyhawks game on Friday. I'm keeping my mouth shut. It's not easy, but no, you're right. He was flat, I think.
He was flat.
Very flat.
Yes.
Maybe he was just tired. Maybe he was
Yeah.
tired. A lot of shaking
had a big
hands,
night.
kissing babies, posing for photos with his plaque or whatever the hell they gave him. Anything else from last night, or let's move on? Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's get to some of the playoff X factors that you gotta watch. TK's got a list. He promised. He called his shot Babe Ruth style with this one. And I thought maybe we'll see it later in the week. He got to work yesterday.
That's right.
So what
Fresh
do you
in
got
my
for us?
mind.
All right.
These are your top 8 playoff X factors. Why 8? Why not?
No.
I got over 5. I was like, I ain't getting to 10. 4 from each conference. And honestly, I should have stopped at 7. But our number 1 X Factor in the playoffs. And look, this is these are going to be bigger names than you would think for X Factors. Because when I think X Factor, I think we're talking about a series, breaking down the matchups, who's like the random dude who's going to show up. These are more general playoff X Factors. So some biggish names. For instance, Jamal Murray is my number 1 playoff X Factor. I think he is the non-all-star that changes the title picture the most. Okay. In wins for the Nuggets this season, Jamal Murray is averaging 24 points per game, 61% true shooting. All of these stats are before the games last night, so things could have changed a little bit. In their losses, 19 points per game, 55 true shooting. This one is accurate. When Murray scores 20 or more points, the Nuggets are 24-11. When he's under 20 points, 14-15.
Yeah.
Simple as that. He has to play like a second star for their team to be good. And you think back like the Nuggets playoff history recently. 21-22 season, Jamal Murray is gone. Nuggets are not a championship contender. 23, he's healthy, plays incredibly in the playoffs. They win the championship pretty easily once they got down into the finals. Last year, banged up. They lost it in Game 7. Maybe got exhausted as the series went on after a long, long season. So the fact that he's playing well right now, I think is encouraging for the Denver Nuggets. And to me, he is like the biggest question mark. If he plays like Jamal Murray, playoff riser we've seen before, they're still alive, I think, as a championship contender.
Yeah, that's a great point because it really comes down to him when it comes to the Denver Nuggets, because we know Nikola Jokic is going to be awesome. And you can look back at that 2023 team and think, well, maybe it was KCP who really was the X Factor, but Jamal Murray was the guy leading the NBA in the playoffs at 59 threes in 20 games. So he hit three threes per game. It's a big freaking number. And he just was the guy in that whole entire playoffs. And I wondered after the max contract coming into this season, whether or not it was just a little premature giving him that deal after watching what he did in last year's playoffs. Just wasn't up to it. And then the Olympics did not play well whatsoever. Yeah. But yeah, I gotta apologize to the front office there. I called it out, maybe because we're in this era where it just seems like we forget about things. You know, last year everything is just so quick, and then you just look at Jamal Murray. He's always a second half guy, and he started the season slow, and then bang! I mean, he has been really, really good. So yeah, they are the challenger to OKC and if he's playing like that.
Yeah, and when he's rolling, the Jokic-Murray 1-2 game is like one of the most unstoppable 1-2s in the league.
That's right.
We have seen it like in playoff series. So yeah, he is so important. But when he has that fall off or he goes ice cold, they're a different team and they drop a tier. I think you're right. Despite this guy never being an all-star, incredibly. But yeah, you're going to go through a lot of names here. When he's at his best, his ceiling is probably, it's almost peak of all these guys that you're going to go through. It's wild.
And I think what is different than the run in 2023 is Jamal Murray learns sometimes he doesn't even need Nikola Jokic to be handling the ball or the pick and roll with him. He's shown other things with other guys on the team where he's just leading the team. So TBD, we'll see how he does.
Also the hairiest guy on this list.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned it. It was the last part of my notes. Once you mentioned it, I'm like, I can't stop looking at how hairy his limbs are.
He's
extremely out from his
hairy.
chest.
Yeah. Extremely hairy. He's got some Egyptian in him. So I think that's where it's coming from. Yeah.
Jamal Murray, one of the hairiest guys in the league. Maybe that'll be the next list. Top 33 hairiest guys in the league.
Wow.
Andre Drummond probably making the list still. Our next biggest playoff X factor in the Eastern Conference, it's Mikal Bridges of the New York Knicks. Originally, I was thinking it was Karl Anthony Towns, but he'll at least produce. I think in the playoffs, there will be the frustrating moments with Karl Anthony Towns where he's picking up 2 fouls 30 feet from the hoop in the first quarter. That's going to be a bummer. Brunson, certified playoff riser. The guy got better with the Mavericks. He got better when he was playing with the Knicks as well. So as long as he's healthy, I'm good on those guys. Bridges, though, has been playing awesome without Jalen Brunson. 22 points per game, 67% true shooting on a higher usage rate. When he scores 20 or more points, the Knicks are 18-7. You even look at their last 5 games. In the games he had 27 and 28 points they won, their 3 losses under 20. He's also a huge factor for them from point of attack defense. Like if they were to run into the Cavs in the conference finals, if they meet up with the Celtics in the second round. I think he's going to play a really big role guarding guys. I think OG Anunoby is kind of in this X Factor vote as well, but I expect more offensively from Mikal Bridges. We just haven't quite seen it from OG to be the guy you give the ball, he can go out and get you a bucket. Bridges has done that, and I think that the Knicks are going to need that from him in the playoffs if they want to make any sort of serious noise.
I love this one. I was going to ask you, did you go back and forth between, not Cap, but like OG or Mikal Bridges? But I like going with Mikal here, and I just looked it up too. It feels like there's a line for him. If he hits 4 or more threes in a game for the Knicks, it's like they're basically winning that game, and it sort of holds true. He's got 14 games where he's hit 4 or more threes, and it's like an 11-3 record. Like they almost always win, and he's gonna get looks, and you like when he's shooting it with confidence. So that's a good one. Bridges, I mean, I don't know how you feel about the Knicks. I know we had them on the second tier when it came to their chances to win a title. Maybe that's fallen off a bit. Part of that with the Brunson injury. Maybe not. Do you still believe in him?
As far as the Brunson injury goes, I think he can just chill as much as possible, because I do think this is a bit of a blessing in disguise. I think Brunson can relax, but also in the standings. I think if Milwaukee drops to fourth, if the Knicks drop to fourth, they get Milwaukee, which I think that is a great matchup for them. They have destroyed the Bucks this year.
You think the Knicks would rather play the Bucks than the Pistons?
Yeah, I think they would. I think they are so good at making Milwaukee look slow as molasses. And their 2 games that they've played them this year, they beat them by 34 the last time they played them, and 22. They haven't been close whatsoever. They play Brook Lopez off the floor. I think they do make them look extremely slow. So I think that also helps Mikal Bridges just play more in that number one role that we all saw in Brooklyn, where it really worked. I shouldn't say number one role. It's not a number one role, but the more prominent role where he is more of a 1 or 2 guy. I think it does help him. And Brunson will be back doing his thing. He'll be good.
2.5 game lead for the Knicks over the Pacers right now, but the Pacers are playing better than the Knicks, so definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
We're switching back to the Western Conference. Our next playoff X Factor, Jaden McDaniels of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I thought of Randall as a candidate as well, but you got to prove it to me. I think, though, that Jaden McDaniels has been a huge part of the Timberwolves' resurgence. Before the All-Star break, 12 points per game, 2 assists on 56 true shooting. After the All-Star break, 17 points per game, 3 assists, 62% true shooting, and most importantly, his shot attempts went from 9.6 field goals per game to 12.8. The guy's looking way more aggressive, way more confident, actually looking for his shot. Making 3-pointers is huge. In that same time frame, the Timberwolves offense has gone from 14th on the year to 4th, just because Jaden McDaniels is playing a little bit better and not being a 5th option out there. Like, he's looking to score, and I think that's huge for the Timberwolves to have somebody that wants to take the shots. Confidence is a big thing for McDaniels. I think he's also going to have a better defensive series than he had against Luka Doncic last year, depending on who the Timberwolves match up with. They're going to have a tough road of things coming from likely the play-in tournament, unless they're able to pass the Warriors, but we'll see. But Jaden McDaniels has played pretty well here in the second half of the season.
He looks like a different player. You can see it start a first quarter, start a third quarter. That's when he gets called on, and it's like, you're playing my man. And Edwards has been looking for him. When you start talking about the Timberwolves, they have so many X factors. It feels like you mentioned Randall, and it goes down the line. I mean, if Rudy Gobert ain't that same guy, I mean, Dante DiVincenzo comes off the bench and has helped out, but they don't look right all the time. But Jaden McDaniels is important, and he's played in every game this season. Not a lot of guys do that, but he does. He is out there playing hard, and he will get the other team's best player. He's asked. There's a lot asked of him, and since that All-Star game, he's been providing everything he's been asked of.
He might be playing Kawhi Leonard in a 7-8 matchup.
Yeah.
Try and slow down the Terminator there. So good luck with that. But you're right. The offensive part is the huge part, because he just has games where he's disappearing act too, where he still has, like, you look at the box score, he's like, this guy's got 5 points. And he's played like nearly 30 minutes.
Did he actually fall asleep?
Yeah,
it looks like he was going to.
But he's played way better, like you said, since the break. So that's a good one. I like that one a lot. Again, the Wolves are going to have a hell of a run to get back to the Western Conference Finals, or obviously even hopes to get to the finals. Like, you got to get in first, let alone then beat some of these elite teams. So going to be very difficult, but he'd have to play at a super high level for them to have any chance. In addition to in addition to Randall and Gobert and stuff.
Another team with a lot of potential X factors, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Definitely got my eyes on Darius Garland. Hasn't had a great run in the playoffs yet. I think there's a lot of pressure on DeAndre Hunter if they're going to take down the Celtics. Like, he's going to be a major part of them trying to pull that off as a defender, likely on Tatum, and then having to play offensively. But I'm ultimately going with Jarrett Allen as my X factor for the Cleveland Cavaliers, because I haven't been impressed his last 2 outings for the Cavs. You had the lights are too bright series versus the Knicks, an ultimate quote graphic that you don't necessarily want associated with your name. And then last year, he got hurt after game 4 against Orlando. In their 2 wins that series that Jarrett Allen played with, and he had 16 points and 18 rebounds in game 1, 16 points and 20 rebounds. That's a lot of roast beef in game 2. He was awesome in their 2 wins. He was not awesome in their 2 losses. They got blown out in game 3 and maybe in game 4 as well. But when he plays well, when he's able to stay on the court, the Cavs defense is going to be even better. And I think he's a good player, but there are matchups which aren't perfect to be playing Allen and Mobley. So I think that it's important for the Cavs that Allen makes it so the other team is having to adjust to them rather than the flip-flop.
Yeah. And you can play Allen at the 5 if things are going well and Mobley sits, or vice versa, because Mobley is playing so well. Yeah, there's lots of question marks. As you mentioned, Garland, Mobley too, to have an even better playoffs. But Jarrett Allen is definitely focused on this postseason to write it, as you said. That quote that he never wants, although he claims that he liked that quote. And when he said it,
he's not ashamed.
No, he's not ashamed. He calls out for it. And this is his time to have his best playoffs, because we haven't had a great one. And last year he was injured for a bunch of that 2-round playoff run for them.
And you are right. The Magic punked them in game 3, 121-83, and then 112-89
weird
in game
series,
4.
man.
Very weird series where Cleveland ultimately got it done in 7, but it was even sort of close there for a second in game 7. I remember they sort of pulled away in the end, 106-94, but yeah, it was an odd one.
Yeah.
And it didn't instill a lot of confidence, I remember, in the Cavs. The Magic were scrappy.
Yeah.
I think I took the Magic to win that series. I thought the defense might get it done, but Cleveland got through. But Jarrett Allen, okay, lots of guys to pick from, though. I love the Garland one, too. Mm-hmm. I think, for him, Garland, to me, is when you're getting into the later rounds.
For sure.
He has to be big and be clutch, and he can be.
Well, he's been great this season.
Yeah.
His clutch stats are nearly 60%. But he's not going to win Clutch Player of the Year, I guess, because that's Jalen Brunson's. But maybe the injury hurts. I don't know. Okay.
We shall see. We are in starry range. Grab the green ball, Skeets.
Okay.
Ja Morant is my biggest playoff X factor for the Memphis Grizzlies. He has not played like a star this season. 22 points, 7 assists, very good, but those are not all-star stats. Those are Ja Morant stats from before he won Most Improved Player. Still one of the weirdest awards we've seen. How many 30-point games do you think Ja Morant has this season? 30-point games.
Wow. 4?
Yeah.
That's probably high. 3 or 4, I guess.
Yeah, I would have said 4 as well.
5 it is.
Okay.
He had that 144-point game, and then he had, I think, maybe back-to-back 30s when Jaren Jackson Jr. went out, and it kind of was the only time we've seen Ja be the guy for the Grizzlies this season. They definitely have a more equal opportunity, ball movement-based offense. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s game has grown a lot in the 2 years that Ja Morant was injured or suspended. Same with Desmond Bane. Those guys take up a bigger portion of the possessions for Memphis than when Ja was the undisputed number 1 guy. But I think for the Grizzlies to reach their ceiling, he's got to be able to be a 30-point, 10-assist guy pretty regularly in the playoffs. He's had some massive moments. He's had 45-plus, I think, in every playoff run he's had when he's been healthy. Wow. So we know Ja Morant can show up, but Memphis is 12-21 this season versus teams that are over 500. They're beating up on the bad teams, and then they're scraping by sometimes against the good teams. They're going to be all good teams in the playoffs, and that's why they need Ja Morant to play like the Ja Morant that everybody fell in love with, because that's not the guy we've seen this season.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Taylor Jenkins is saving more minutes for Ja Morant in the postseason. I guess it's possible, because he's only playing 30 minutes a game, which would be his career low. Mm-hmm. Just to go out and see him do what he has done in the playoffs. As you said, Trey, there have been some magical moments, and he was awesome when they beat Minnesota 2 years ago and they played Golden State. I guess it's 3 seasons ago now. It was 2022. But he plays a ton when those moments are great. The 3 playoffs that he's played in, 40 minutes played per game, 37 and 37 in the other one. So, yeah, I wonder if it's just a tick up, and we'll see the Ja moments again. It's great. It's a very high X factor here you have here.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be an X factor. He should be a star.
That's the issue. And
I find
the Grizzlies very difficult to figure out. And I wouldn't be shocked, obviously, with them losing in a first-round series, maybe even handedly, and I wouldn't be shocked with them, like, upsetting or going far, because they're sort of like Jekyll and Hyde a little bit. They have, like, one of the best net ratings in the league, but I think you're right. A big part of that is, like, they take care of those crap teams, and that sort of inflates that a little bit, and then maybe a little more subpar against the elite competition in the league. But they are good, is my point. They are really, really good, but Ja needs to be special. And that needs to 30 minutes, yeah, that's got to be, like, at least 38 minutes in a postseason, in a playoff game, and it probably will be. And hopefully we get some magical moments from Ja Morant. Because he's been, like, a forgotten player this season.
Big time. It
Like,
definitely feels like they are
him.
managing his body. Like, he'll play 3 games and sit out 2 games. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
the minutes are a lot lower. They're asking less of him. Hopefully, it's so that he can be ramped up and ready to go for the playoffs, but that's kind of flipping things on its head from the entire way you've played all season. So, I don't know. I was in on the Grizzlies halfway through the season, and then the last, like, month and a half, they've been pretty disappointing.
Yeah, 15 and 20 against teams 500 or better.
Yeah.
That ain't good.
No.
I apologize if you said that stat. Did you say that
I
stat?
think I said
Am I
it
repeating?
different. I thought I said 12 and 21 versus teams over 500.
Did you read that on a postcard by chance?
You're getting me for my reading of Chiefs postcard yesterday.
Jamal Mashburn stat we're still trying to figure out.
No, we all figured it out. That was the Pelicans, the New Orleans Pelicans. Yeah, according to NBA.com, it's 15 and 20 against 500 plus.
And if we can't trust NBA.com, who can we trust?
Well,
Nobody.
you can't trust ESPN because right now it says they're 11 and 19 against teams over
What the
500.
hell? You going with Shu or you going with Pelton?
So this says...
My shoes on. I'm going with shoes.
I'm geeking it out here because this column on NBA.com says OPP dots opponent 500 plus. So does that mean it's over 500?
Yes.
Okay, but so yours says could mean 500 and over.
Ooh.
So there's
This says 500 and above.
yeah. So maybe there's more games there.
Technicality. Yeah.
What was it? You had 11 and
I got 11 and 19.
but this says more games. This says 30.
That doesn't make sense. Then.
Yeah, that
Unless they're playing
35.
exactly 500 teams. I don't know
It
what
must
it
be like
is,
when,
but I know that
when
they
were 500.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay, I'll ask Chief. He knows.
not Jeeves.
Not Chief.
We have Chief,
We only
lesser
have
known
one.
website
well,
that we only correspond with through postcards. We'll get back to it in 8
Where's
weeks.
Schumann? Where's Schumann? Schumann is the guy
Yeah,
who
where the
writes for
hell's Schumann? Come
NBA.com.
on.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Schumann does all the stats.
Anyways, they're not good against good teams.
That's right. They're not good against good teams, no matter how you slice
Dylan
it.
does say it could be 500 when they played them versus currently 500. Is that could be a difference? That'd be weird.
Yeah, the fact
that's
that it
weird.
changed so much from when I looked at it yesterday to today, and they didn't play, gives me reason to think that something changed.
So it is
there-
about.
Like I said, they're 11 and 19 on on Tuesday, but when I looked at it on Monday, they were 12 and 21, so they lost 3 games somehow.
Right.
Like
so
3 games just disappeared from that record.
so
Who
it
went
is-
over 500 yesterday?
Exactly.
People are calling this a stat fight.
It's a straight up stat fight. There's no teams that are on the verge of being over 500. I don't know who did it.
Oh, wow, you're going deep.
Okay, the Kings lost to go under 500. They were 35 and 35
they
heading
did.
into the season. I wonder what the record for the Grizzlies is against the Kings. There we go. We found it, Schumann. Our next biggest playoff X factor. He's tall. It's Kristaps Porzingis of the Boston Celtics. He played 7 total playoff games last year, and the Celtics went 6-1. When he played, they were unbeatable. When he didn't play, they were also basically unbeatable.
Yeah.
But I think they need him this year.
Yeah.
Their biggest competition when you're looking league-wide at the teams they're hopefully going up against in the conference finals or the finals are the Thunder, who have Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein and switch on defense a ton. You need Porzingis there. Or the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen. Got to be able to have a big guy in that series outside of Al Horford. If the Nuggets somehow make it to the finals, it'll be Nikola Jokic. Yep. They're going to need Kristaps Porzingis last year. They didn't need him last year.
Yep, we're on record as saying as much here on
Simple.
the show. We've said it for a couple weeks now. I believe if they're going to repeat, Porzingis is going to be a monster.
I agree.
And I think he could flirt with a Eastern Conference Finals MVP or potentially even a Finals MVP. I know as great as Tatum is, as great as Jalen Brown is, I think he's that important, and I think the numbers can be that big in a potential 4 wins out of 7. So I'm on board with this. KP's got to be awesome for them to repeat because it's going to be more difficult.
Yes, definitely as the series go on, you may face an OKC for sure, but I do think it is tougher even at the beginning, and we'll see if Kristaps is just healthy. I think that's what it comes down to. He has, and they have somehow mastered the getting him back healthy, because when he comes back, he looks freaking awesome. They play it slow, I guess, and he has looked good recently.
Yeah. He's played 4 out of the last 5, and he scored 24 or more in 3 of those, and like they sort of waxed the Kings there last night. So, he didn't have to play. Well, he played 30 minutes, I guess, but didn't have his monster of game. But
right. He looks good.
They've won all these games is the other point. And a lot of these games are missing other guys, star guys. He's like taken on that role easily. He can slot into that, and he can give you 25, and he can give you some rebounds as well. I know that's a strong suit, but the guy's a monster, and he obviously can protect the rim. He's so important, and could be a matchup nightmare for some potential series.
Oh yeah.
So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
That's an X factor to win the title.
Yes.
To me, yeah.
And Al Horford is getting older. He obviously has a great season. He's had an incredible season. But, I mean, you need somebody else.
But
you got to get 2s sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to get 2s in the playoffs. That's why they can't just have Horford.
Yeah.
He's not the guy that's beating switches like Porzingis is. When the Celtics had their biggest struggles, it was like trying to reintegrate Porzingis as a player and not necessarily being used to the way that he was getting his shots, or Porzingis was out of the lineup and they were a little bit too 3 happy. So him coming back solves all those problems.
Yeah. And he's still a good 3-point shooter. Is the crazy part. He's like a 39% 3-point shooter this year. So yeah.
And just to confirm, the Grizzlies are 1-2 against the Sacramento Kings. So the ESPN standings are telling us record against teams that are 500 currently, and my guess is that the NBA.com ones are saying at the time of the game were they 500.
Damn. Which one do you prefer?
I think I prefer not checking it until the end of the season when it's locked in, because I think based on the full season is smarter actually than at the time.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Biggest playoff X factor number 7, Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Jalen. I am talking about wing Jalen Williams, who is currently hurt. J-Dub, even though Jaylin, J-Will, is straight up hooping right now, so maybe he's an X factor as well. But you look at Jalen Williams last season, great against the Pelicans in the playoffs, 21 per game on 53% shooting, 39 from 3. Just middling against the Mavs, 17 per game, 42 from the field, 38 from 3. We know what the recipe is going to be against the Thunder. Get the ball out of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's hands, so definitely pressure on Thunder shooters like Lou Dort, Isaiah Joe. Those would be the main guys, I would say. I think pressure on Chet Holmgren as well, but Jalen Williams, you're an all-star. This is your time to step up as the second scorer. Yep. There are going to be moments when you got to lead the second unit, when Shai is getting a tiny bit of rest during the playoffs. So I would like to see him step up. He's been really consistent this season. Do it again in the playoffs.
Yep. You're going to want Jalen Williams to be Jaylen Brown. To obviously, SGA's Tatum, in that sort of comparison, and that's what you're looking for. And if he is, then they're unbeatable because they are damn good. But the pressure's going to be there. He's going to be, once the ball's forced out of SGA's hands, especially when we're getting into like fourth quarters and clutch situations. Right. It's like you got to make the play. And now you have Hartenstein to make a play at the free throw line and play 4-on-3, but you also have him as the guy that's going to operate. And whether he can do it for 4 series, we know he can do it. Mm-hmm. He has done it. But it's a different beast in the postseason. But I have high hopes for him. I love this guy.
Yeah, looking forward to watching him in bigger moments. Yeah, OKC can rely on other guys if he isn't being incredible. Well, but there will be times when Shai is not having an excellent game. Who's going to do it? And it's going to be called upon for Jalen to do it.
And he, it's sort of not as much this year. Maybe it's because they're blowing a lot of teams out. But, was it last year? He had a lot of, great moments in the clutch.
Yeah.
He would take over games. SGA would do the heavy carrying for a majority of the game, and then he would take over as sort of an extra boost. So he'll probably get that opportunity in the playoffs. Love that one.
Final playoff X Factor, the biggest reach-a-roo. Benedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, this one caught me by surprise.
Yeah, but I wanted 8, and I wanted it to be 4-4.
I hear you.
And honestly, I love what Mathurin has brought to the Pacers lately. Obviously, they didn't play a clutch game last night, but they had 4 clutch wins prior to that. And in those 4 games, Ben Mathurin, 6th in fourth quarter scoring, 9.5 per game, 68 from the field. He went to the free throw line 4 times per fourth quarter in those 4 wins. In those 4 wins, 31 clutch points on 69% shooting. That's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't played in the playoffs yet either.
Yeah.
So maybe he raises the ceiling a little bit for the Indiana Pacers, or maybe he's kind of got the game where you're not getting the free throw calls in the playoffs and you just become a guy who drives into traffic, which is not helping the Pacers. But I'd like to see what he's got. And I was choosing him over Kyle Kuzma.
Oh yeah, I was wondering who else was on your list.
Kuzma, Malik Beasley, like those guys are series X factors for sure when we get down into it. But I think if Mathurin can play well, it gives the Pacers a little bit of extra juice.
Yeah, and his scoring in the fourth quarter, as you said, those clutch stats happens a lot more than it does for Kyle Kuzma or somebody else. These points matter. Who do they go to in the fourth quarter? It's always this guy. Recently, it's just over and over and over again. So as I go back to NBA.com for stats, because I love my stats.
Be careful there.
Yeah,
I heard they're all wrong.
I'm just looking for I haven't found it yet. His points by quarter have to increase as the game goes on. It's always funny.
I don't know if they have a straight up split for that, but you can sort.
Yeah, you got to go.
You got to sort it. Yeah, you might have to sort it up.
Yeah.
I'm not upset with another Canadian being on this list at all. Ben the Baker, let's go. I'm starting to get really excited about the Pacers again here with the way they're playing recently, because it's like just nice to see them playing like they were last year. And we already talked about, like, I wouldn't be upset with a 4-5 run it back between the Pacers and Bucks, fully loaded squads. And, Pacers fans they'll have a chip on their shoulder because everyone's like, you only got by them because there was no Giannis. Well, they're going to be like, all right, bring Giannis. Let's see it. So that'll be a great first-round series, I think, 4-5. But he'll be important. So there it is. Hit me with those 8 guys again. Who you got?
Who do I got? Scrolling. Get those
you haven't memorized
scrolling.
Them? Come on,
all right, Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets, Mikal Bridges of the New York Knicks, Jaden McDaniels of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Jarrett Allen of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, Kristaps Porzingis of the Boston Celtics, Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Benedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers. 5
guys whose names start with a J. The J Factor.
The J Factor. That's what it's called now. I think that a J initial is the most popular initial in the NBA. I don't know if it's true, but I think it is.
J.A. too, for sure. Yeah.
Jalen is the most common name in the NBA.
I believe that. Yeah.
We need a website for it. Benedict Mathematician. That can be the website.
Here's some math for you, Tass.
All right.
First quarter, Benedict Mathurin, 3.4 points per game. Second quarter, 3.8. Third quarter, 4.0. Fourth quarter, 5.2.
There we go. You nailed it.
Turns it on.
Hell yeah.
NBA.com.
Way to call that.
Way to break that down.
All right, great stuff, TK.
What about OT? I see
3 points per game.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, short though.
But that's not bad. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I take that back. I take that back.
Yeah.
Per 36.
Come on,
give me
per 36 on those overtime numbers. All right, great stuff, TK. Let's hear from you guys in the stream team and in the YouTube comments. You can tweet at us as well. Other NBA playoff X factors that you would add to that list. Tonight's game, Tass, Jimmy Butler returning to Miami for the first time after forcing his way out at the trade deadline. Curious how the home crowd will react to Jimmy. I think this is on TNT, so this will be a fun one, and this is our game in the pick'em.
Yeah, Jimmy said, it's just another game. Of course he's going to say that. Although Kevin Love said, I think he's going to be pretty emotional when he comes back.
Really?
So that's why I was comfortable taking Golden State -4.5. They got to cover 5 points, and I assume that's why Trey and Esh also followed it. Why isn't Golden State going to win by 5 points? I am surprised, Skeets, that you took Miami's +4.5 at home.
Is heat culture real or not? This is their championship tonight. They ain't doing anything in the postseason. This is their game. This is their, okay, screw this guy. And, for Wiggins to, get back at his old team. And, this is a big, big game in front of their home crowd. They got to get this one. This is a money line win here tonight.
Oh, you're thinking they're going to money line?
No, I'm going overboard. But I like them keeping it close at the very least. So that's why I'm taking them.
Hey, man, they snapped the streak. They'd lost 10 straight. They got healthy against the Hornets. That's good stuff.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to come into this game on a 11-game losing streak.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
They're not good, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying this is a very important game for them. And again, you got to do it for Pat and Eric tonight.
Pat and Eric playing on the
and Andy,
Pat Riley court, as
and Alonzo,
they call it.
Yeah.
If we were able to bet by quarters here, going back to the quarters, this would be something. Yeah, you definitely bet halves. Miami Heat first half, take them. I like that.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
they're solid, and the Warriors tend to come out in the third quarter and take care of business.
What's Steph Curry's status? He's questionable?
Yeah, Steph Curry had a long, I do believe it's technically questionable, but he did practice for a long time yesterday. So it seems like emotionally he wants to play for Jimmy. I'm guessing. Feels like that.
Did you guys see the clip the other night speaking of Steph Curry, where it appeared that he hit like a 100-foot shot because he like chucked it from the tunnel all the way to the other end, and there were people filming it, and it looked like it swished. But have you seen the footage since? Oh, we have new footage from underneath the camera on the other end. It just hits the mesh. Like it perfectly hits the mesh. Where if you're 100 feet away, it looks like you swished it.
Yeah.
But when you're right there, it's like, no, it just hits the mesh.
Second aerial.
Wow, it's real.
Second angle.
I was searching Steph to see his status for tonight, and I did see those videos come up, and I said, nah, this ain't real. This is a grok.
Oh, you didn't even believe it.
Well, I didn't really want to read about it. So I was just like, okay, what about Steph? I don't care if he's hit a shot from the other tunnel. He can do that. I believe in him.
That's true. He could do it. All right, so that's the big game tonight. We'll be here tomorrow to break that one down, I assume, in great detail, talk about all the other games tonight. Maybe hit the beach. So get your questions in, nodunks@theathletic.com. So looking forward to that game and the others. We'll see you here then. Clipper Bros!
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us, and remember, the AI on X is called Grok. I wonder if Rob Gronkowski, my Gronk, cares about that. I don't know. I just thought of that. It probably has nothing to do with each other because Gronk is Gronk with an N.
Right.
Grok is Grok without an N.
Have you ever used Grok?
By accident.
Oh, right.
Sometimes I fat thumbed it. You know, at the bottom of Twitter, it's got all these, all these tabs.
Yeah, there's a lot of icons down there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What happened?
I can't reveal it. I was, you know how they write those corrections?
Yeah.
They wrote a correction right away. I guess I lied.
I know JD's been dabbling with the Chat GPT a lot more. Haven't you?
Calling me out.
I'm calling you out, man.
Calling me out.
Rocking it.
I don't even know if what I'm looking at right now is actually JD.
I'm playing pickleball right now. My avatar. Grok generated.
Embrace the day, people.